You're listening to the Port City Podcast, where Portsmouth's businessmen and women take the mic. Now onto the show with your hosts, Ben Van Camp and Jen Stevens.
All right, everybody, welcome to the second episode of the Port City Podcast. We're delighted to be back with you. I'm Ben Van Camp, Vice President of What's Next at the Chamber Collaborative of Greater Portsmouth, with Jen.
And I do communications and chamber events.
Jen Stevens. And we're delighted to have our guest today, Joe Faro. I think the title you go by is Chief Food Taster?
Chief Food Taster,
that's
me.
Of Tuscan Tuscan Brands.
Yep.
All right, we're delighted to have you here today to talk a little bit about you, your background, talk about your projects going on in Portsmouth right now, and tell the story a little bit. So I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at Tuscan Kitchen when you spoke at one of our morning events at the Chamber. Phenomenal story. I'm just going to let you tell it. So just give us like where you grew up, through the UNH bit, the whole thing.
Yeah. You want me to start at the beginning?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start at the beginning. I'm the son of two Sicilian immigrants that emigrated to Lawrence, Massachusetts in the late 50s. And, my parents came from towns probably 5 miles apart in Sicily, and they met here in Lawrence and fell in love and got married in Lawrence. And everyone says that's crazy, and I can't believe that. It's impossible. It's not impossible, because in Sicily, after the war, there was 2 million signs that said, "Go to Lawrence." So everybody wanted to go to Lawrence, where the jobs were. My parents worked in the mills. My grandparents worked in the mills. And you know what? Growing up was just it was a wonderful, passionate, kind of vibrant Italian immigrant family. And we made everything from scratch, and everybody was, my friends would come over and say, "Wow, they always just mad at each other." They're not mad at each other. They're just, they're just passionate, and they're vibrant, and they're, and plus the ceilings were really low because we lived in the basement. So, everything was amplified. But, just really hardworking family, and, we grew up with those core values. And, for me, all I ever saw was that pride and that passion and that work ethic. And, of course, everything we did, all the food we ate was made from scratch.
All right.
So, I'd watch my grandmother get up in the morning, and she'd make gnocchi or bread or, cavatelli or start frying cutlets up at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. And it got to the point, by the time I got to high school, my friends would literally buy tickets to come to my house because it was just so much fun. And it was just so vibrant. And, I wasn't really, I didn't jump off the page in the yearbook. I wasn't magna cum laude. I was really kind of more Johnny come lately type thing. Yeah. But I got myself into UNH.
Okay.
And
first to go to college, right?
I was actually the second to go to college because my sister was actually a valedictorian of her class, a presentation at Mary Academy, and she got a full ride to go to Holy Cross. And so they were looking at me like, what's really going to become of this nitwit? And I went to UNH, and I did not disappoint anybody because I promptly, I got there. I remember it was in Stoke Hall. 636 was my room. I had a triple. Okay. Nice. It was great because, my parents, they're just immigrants, and they're wonderful people, and they pull up, and there's TVs flying out the window, and couches on fire, and okay, Mom, that's good. I'll see you later, and I'm going to go upstairs. Here's my stuff. I'm good. And so I had never been in that environment before, and suffice it to say, I had a great time, and so I did not go to class essentially. Really, let's boil it down to that. Yeah. I didn't go to class, and I got a 1.7 my freshman year at UNH, and I got put on academic probation. And when I finally realized what had happened, I said to myself, I got to get home, and I got to beat this report card home.
Yeah.
Because if I don't beat this report card home, my dad is going to kick my bleep. Yeah. I did not beat the report card home.
Yeah.
Now, some guys, they drop out of high school. Some people drop out of college. My father dropped out of the 6th grade.
Okay.
Because he was a 15-year-old coming from Italy, could not speak English, and they didn't know what to do with him, so they put him in the 6th grade. So he was the only one in the 6th grade with a beard, so that was a little weird. And, honestly, after 7 months, he said, what am I doing here? Right. What am I doing here? So he went to work in the mills in Lawrence, right?
A lot of people did, right?
Hundreds of thousands. So to send me and my sisters to college was such a big deal for my family and the hardship that was involved in that. And you know what? He was so disappointed and devastated, and to work 100 hours a week to send me to school, and that's what I went and did.
Yeah.
I learned how to do keg stands and funnels and all those terrible things you tell your kids not to do. Didn't go to class, got thrown out of school. He threw me out of the house. Talk about tough love. He threw me right out of the house. He said, get out. Get out and don't come back. He said, until you find out who you are and where you come from. He looked at my mother, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. He said, Rose, I think we raised a post. That's what he said to my mother. My mother cried. She tried to get him to change his mind, but you know what? Stubborn, hardworking, Sicilian immigrant like that. Once he made that decision, there was no changing his mind. So where did I go? I went to my grandmother's house in Lawrence. I'm the only grandson, okay, of 7 grandchildren, okay, and for my grandmother, I could do no wrong.
Right.
So she didn't care if I flunked out. She didn't care if they found the murder weapon on me or if the fingerprints were on the gun or whatever. She just said, you know what, he didn't do it.
Right.
So she took me in. I begged my way back into UNH.
Yep.
I had 2 jobs, a mountain of student loans, and you know what? The next 3 years, the first year was a 1.7, the next 3 years were a 3.7.
Right.
My senior year at UNH, I met a gentleman through a course that really, I think, changed my life. It was a course called Entrepreneurial Leadership, and the professor, I'll never forget him as long as I live. The professor was Professor Bill Namas in Durham, okay, and I was just enthralled by the idea of a class that would profile all of these individuals that had a vision and a passion and wanted to chase their dream, and they were entrepreneurs and they were activists, and they would just combine all of those things and they would make a positive impact on the world. And so I took the class. He was a very tough guy, actually, a Greek guy, actually. His name is Professor Bill Namas. He's still floating around right now, Bill and Peggy Namas. I still stay in touch with them. At the end of the class, you got to enroll in a business plan competition called the Holloway competition. So Paul and Anna Grace Holloway, 2 of my favorite people in the whole world, okay, very generous people, all the way back to then. So now we're talking about 1991, okay? And I wrote this business plan, which originally started out as just a college project.
Right.
It was not going to be an actual business. I just needed to
Just
write
an exercise.
a project.
Yep.
I needed to write a project. So it was not going to be an actual business. So I wrote a project on a concept called Joseph's Gourmet Pasta and Sauces. So Joseph's Gourmet Pasta and Sauces was obviously a pasta and sauce company, but the vision behind it was that we were going to make all of these artisan pasta and sauce recipes, and we were going to customize them to chefs in hotels and restaurants all over New England. At that point, I was not thinking, too big. I was thinking, let's sell pasta and sauces to people, to restaurants in Portsmouth or, Algonquin or, Cape Cod or Boston or whatever, and whoever would buy it. As I started to write this business plan, as I started to become more passionate about it, it started to become a reality. And so then what happened was, and this is really where, it's amazing if somebody gives of their time to you, if somebody takes an interest in a young person, if somebody, and this is where I got the spark down the road, to give back in some of our scholarship programs and things like that, because I have no idea why Professor Namas saw something in me. I don't know why. He didn't get paid to spend time with me. He didn't, I had to go to summer school, by the way. So all summer long, after the competition, I must have seen him 10 times.
Right.
Where he helped me craft that business plan into a document that I could show a bank. Mm-hmm. So the Holloway competition was upon us. It's the night before, okay? I remember like it was yesterday. First of all, I was petrified. I mean, to me, Paul Holloway was like, he was a huge business leader in the Seacoast area. I'm 20 or 21 or, I'm a college kid. I'm going up in front of him. I'm going to give him my pitch. I've decided now I want to make this my life's work. Everything started happening in my second semester senior year. So I get up there. I do my presentation. I talk about Joseph's Gourmet Pasta and Sauces. I talk about, we're going to build I think it was a $2.5 million business, and we're going to make this custom pasta and sauces. We're going to deliver it to restaurants and hotels all over New England and blah, 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 blah. And I got an A. I came in second. I was a little upset about that. I'm still upset about that, to be totally honest with you. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure who,
Who came in first?
I think Paul was in. It was a parking lot car wash came in first, actually. So I don't know if they're washing cars today, but I know that, I was fueled, and when you grow up in that immigrant environment, when you have to overcome that adversity, when my father says it best. He says, life is simple when you have no choice.
Right.
Life is simple when you have no choice. Right. The answers present themselves when you have to provide for your family, when you have to make it happen, right? And so here I was. I had this business plan. I had an idea to renovate an old shoe factory in Haverhill, Massachusetts, into a pasta factory. And then I was going to hit the road with all these gourmet pasta and sauce things, and I was going to sell them to these restaurants. And I went, and I was so excited, and I went to the first bank, and they just shot me down, point blank. Cold.
Boom.
No, great plan, but you don't have the credit, you don't have the collateral, you don't have this, you don't have that.
How many other banks did the same?
11.
Yeah.
Do you want to name them?
Just kidding.
I don't. I do want to name the bank. I do want to name the 12th bank.
Yeah.
Because a local bank, from Lawrence, Massachusetts, First Essex Savings Bank, and I met the loan officer. I mean, the guy's name was Ed Killam. I'll never forget him either. And I met him, and he also said no.
Right.
But he said, but I know someone who can. And so here's another guy who didn't have to give me his time, didn't have to mentor me, didn't have to give me a path to help me succeed. He brought me to see the SBA.
Right.
They had programs for people just like me that were doing exactly what I was doing.
They kind of lower the risk for the bank.
They did.
With some federal guarantees.
That's right.
To make the loan more attractive to the bank.
That's
and
what they did.
I think it's wonderful that you are a success story for the SBA.
It's
a phenomenal program that has really influenced a tremendous amount of businesses nationwide.
Well, I got to tell you, there's so many young people today that have incredible business ideas, and there's so much. We want to look at young people sometimes with all the social media. We want to dwell on negative and all this stuff. I got to tell you something. I've judged the Holloway competition. I can't believe how smart these kids are. Yeah. I can't believe how vibrant they are. I can't believe how creative they are. Yeah. And they are doing it. They're making it happen. It's really, and they're doing it through technology today.
Yeah.
So now I have my $1 million.
There you go.
And I renovate an old shoe factory. Okay, it was called the Foss Manufacturing Plant. It was in Ward Hill, Massachusetts, right off of exit 48 on 495. I put, I went on the shoestring budget. I put a bunch of pasta machines in. We built a freezer. We did all this different stuff, and I modified these machines to create this kind of handmade product that I could inject whole chunks of, so we made a giant lobster ravioli. We used to make it by hand in a pastry bag, and I duplicated that process with a ravioli machine that could put a whole lobster claw inside of a ravioli.
Yeah.
So then I set out and started selling that.
Right.
And to give you a very short version to a very long story, from 1991 to 2009, we became the nation's largest producer of specialty pasta and sauces in the country. We built a $75 million business. And you know what? What impresses me the most of that is the amazing people that were involved in that. And just when I say amazing people, we had amazing employees, amazing relationships with some of these companies that we would do business with, the vendors, the banks, we built in 1993, I tried to sell lobster ravioli to Joe Tecchi's in the North End of Boston, and I remember like it was yesterday. So probably was 90 years old, old man Tecchi, and he had his son Richie was in the kitchen, and he would never talk to me. He would actually always talk to me through Richie. Yeah. I was standing right here.
Yeah.
So he said, tell him I don't like the lobster ravioli. I'm like, I'm standing right here. I hear you, And he said to him, I said, Mr. Tecchi, I really want you to try this. It's Maine lobster ravioli. You're going to love it. He looked at me, and he finally spoke to me. He said, kid, stick to cheese and meat. You're never going to make a living selling lobster ravioli. Well, in 2007, okay, I had opened a lobster shucking facility on St. Margaret's Bay in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we shucked 7 million 1-pound lobsters.
Wow.
We made more lobster ravioli than every other pasta company in the world combined. Just a short Italian kid from Lawrence who went to UNH and had a dream and had a vision and all this stuff. And you know what? It's just, it was a combination of timing, passion, people, perseverance, and just we had a lot of fun along the way. And that, we were always involved in the community. We were always giving back. We just made it into a culture is what we turned it into. And in 2006, I got a phone call from the CEO of Nestle, and who wanted us to make some product for them. And we went back and forth, and for me, it was my baby, it was my passion, but it was all consuming.
Sure.
It was all consuming. I missed every hockey game, I missed every dance recital, I missed every gymnastics meet. I was the guy that, at parent-teacher conference, my car was sliding in sideways, and my wife was coming out after the conference was already over, and because I just couldn't say no.
Right.
I'm a doer. I'm a people pleaser. I want to make you happy. That's why the restaurant business is perfect for me, because I want to make my guests happy. I want to create that environment where it's warm and we want to dote all over these people. But it was funny because as you grow a family, as things change, then your priorities sometimes change. And it was amazing. All at once, I realized that maybe I needed to take a break. Maybe I needed to spend some time with my 3 kids and my family and think about what's next. And so to make that long story very short, December 1st, 2006, I sold my company. I sold my passion project, my baby, to Nestle.
Yep.
And it's amazing when you sell a company. What happens is it's like this forensic accounting project.
Right.
It's like 7
dive
months
in every
of,
detail,
oh my gosh, you cannot imagine what they put you through to get to the end. So it's and the leverage first starts with you, but then ends with them.
Right.
Because once everybody knows what's happening and there's no turning back, and you're so you wait for the wire to hit. On closing day, everybody comes in and you wait for the wire to hit because, then that means we did it and it's done. And, everybody goes, yay, and they pop champagne and they have a little champagne. And I remember distinctly in my office, still gives me pause to even recount this story. In my office, December 1st, 2006, probably 11 o'clock at night, there's an empty bottle of Dom Perignon, and I just cried like a baby. Because I felt like, I felt like I gave up. I felt like and 7 days prior to that, I had such anxiety about selling the business. I went to my lawyer and I said, okay, change your plans. He's like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I said, we need to take $3 million and divide it up to everybody in the factory. So both lawyers started saying, all right, hold on. This is a huge liability, so I will find another lawyer.
I hope you did that.
I did every bit of it.
Good.
Every bit of it. And I'll tell you right now, that was the happiest day of my life. That was like, people that have been with me for 17 years, $50,000, $25,000, $15,000, $100,000, oh my God, my kids can go to college, oh my God. And because without them, there is no me.
Right.
There was no Joseph's Gourmet Pasta and Sauces without those amazing people. And you know what? I had to do what I had to do. It ripped me apart. It was time. But you know what? I wanted to say thank you to them. And it was really something that and those are the things that when, the priest goes to give me the last rites, and I will think about those things. I will think about family things. I will think about changing their lives. I will think about the amazing people that I've met along the way and some of the incredible development of these people and what they've become as a part of our journey. So that was chapter 1. That's chapter 1. I'm not a corporate guy, contrary to popular belief. I know people think I am a corporate guy.
I have a question about that.
Oh, I might have an answer.
But if you have another chapter, I don't know.
I do. So I will. So I stayed on as CEO of Joseph's Gourmet Pasta and Sauces. I was an employee of Nestle. I was an employee of someone else for the first time since 1991 when I was an employee of Cindy's Cinnamon Rolls in the Newington Mall.
Nice.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
That's local.
I got fired,
I
actually.
believe, yeah.
I got to tell you the story.
I've heard that story.
I got fired.
Yeah.
I'm a fiery Sicilian kid, you know. And I went in there, and he could not believe how well I could make these cinnamon rolls.
Right.
I was literally... He's like, who is this kid?
good thing there's
well, I was a
video.
baker. I grew up in a bakery, right? So I'm making these cinnamon rolls, and it was very tight. I don't even know if it's still there. It was really tight back there. So he spilled the whole thing. He's actually a wonderful guy. The guy's a wonderful guy. He spilled the whole thing of hot cider on me, and oh yeah, no, it was not good. It literally, and so I think I swore at him or something, and he said, "Get out of here." He fired me, but you know, I had never really worked for anyone else.
Right.
You know, other than I was also.
So now you're an employee of Nestle.
I'm an employee of
And how'd that
Nestle.
go?
Look, I'm a passionate guy.
Yeah.
You know, if it's black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. If the sky is blue, it's blue. I'm not, you know, they would bring me aside after meetings and say, ooh, wait, you can't really call people out for not doing their job because someday they might have to call you out for not doing your job, and we have kind of an unwritten rule. It's kind of like a pension protection program, and I'm like, wait. But he didn't do his job. Oh, no, that's not important now. That's not, you know what? I had a 3-year contract. After 2 years, the CEO came in and said, look, we love you. You're a vibrant guy. We're never going to forget you, but what if we paid you for the last year to go home? Done. So I went home. That was a sad day. I took all my stuff. I put it in a couple big boxes. I said goodbye to everybody. There were a lot of tears. You know, I went home. So I tried to be a man of leisure. I did my best.
Golf?
Oh, I did. Listen,
Workout,
I did.
travel.
I skied. I got a season pass at Sunapee.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the mountain
I
I go to
went
all the time.
skiing 60 times that year.
Nice.
I had a ball. I got to tell you, by 10 months, 11 months, I was losing my mind. Because I'm a people guy.
Yeah.
I'm a people guy. I'm a community guy. I'm a people guy. I want to create projects. I want to create relationships. I want to develop things. I want to make an impact. That's just who I am. So to be this, and then I was horrified because I have 3 kids. Now they're teenagers. And so what were they going to see? Were they going to see their dad as this, he goes to the country club every day, and first of all, that's not me.
Right.
I'm not a socialite. I'm not a corporate guy. I'm not this stuck-up person. I want to give my dishwasher a hug. I want to high five my cook. I want to get out in the community. I want to,
Right.
And so it really kind of happened all at once. I'm a real estate guy, and I was looking at a piece of real estate in Salem, New Hampshire, and it had, a defunct sports bar. Okay, this gentleman had built a sports bar. He was in the trash business, and he wanted to get in the restaurant business. And if he would ask me,
That works well.
It did not work well. No, it didn't work well. God rest his soul. But he built this sports bar, which is now Tuscan Kitchen Salem.
Yeah.
And there was an old Grossman's lumber building, 22 apartments, and a restaurant that was called Stevie D's. Okay, and I saw this like 9-acre site, and I'm saying to myself, well, maybe I could call one of my old clients or one of the restaurants that I used to deal with and have them rent the restaurant, and I'll fix up the warehouse and lease it out, and I'll build new apartments or something like that. And I walked in the restaurant, and all of a sudden the light bulb went off. And the light bulb was, what if we took everything you've learned and all this Italian upbringing and baking bread in the bakery and making pastries and obviously the pasta and the wine and the olive oil and the cheese and you created an Italian restaurant concept that actually celebrated scratch Italian with not only the guests, but the employees and the community.
Yep.
And Tuscan Brands was born that day. And you know what? I don't know if many people know this, but do you know what our very first day was at Tuscan Kitchen Salem and what we did that day?
I do
I'll
not.
give you a hint. It was in November.
Okay.
Okay.
Does it involve a wishbone?
No, it involves the brave men and women that give of themselves to fight for our freedom so that we can build Tuscan Kitchens and other businesses. And so we opened on Veterans Day.
There you go.
in 2010, and we served everybody for free. We served 1,000 veterans that day for free. We invited every veteran of the Merrimack Valley to Tuscan Kitchen in Salem. We needed the practice, and we served 1,000 veterans for free. And you know what? That stuck. And since that day, 10 years later, we've served almost 17,000 veterans. Okay, we now have 6 locations, so we've served almost 17,000 veterans, and it is my favorite day of the year, among many days. Okay, and we see folks that have sacrificed in everywhere. World War II, Korea, Desert Storm 1, Vietnam, Desert Storm 2, Afghanistan, Gulf War. It's unbelievable. And that is just one of many things that we do to give back to the community. But, you know, from that moment forward, what I found was, and 10 out of 10 people, by the way, 10 out of 10 people said, you're out of your mind. That will never work at Salem, New Hampshire. That will never work in New Hampshire. You need to go to Boston. You need to go. It will never work. Well, listen. Tuscan Kitchen and Tuscan Market is the #1 food and beverage operation in New Hampshire, okay, and probably the top 10 in New England. And you know, we have over 250 employees on that site, and it's been a tremendous just experience, just an immersion of community meets this artisan scratch culture, and our employees, and just the buzz that we've created there has led to so much other stuff. And you know, then we opened a restaurant in Burlington, and then we opened a restaurant in Portsmouth, and now we opened a restaurant in Boston, and now we have a little project coming up in Portsmouth, which we're probably going to talk about soon.
Yeah, let's talk about
That project.
Let's talk about it. That project.
So a couple months ago,
Yes.
You purchased.
To hear the rest of our interview with Joe Faro, please check out episode number 3, releasing in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening.